Hello and welcome to Mangum News. I'm your host, Elijah Mangum. This week we'll be discussing the 2023 Oscar nominations, multiple mass shootings in California, 5 officers arrested in the murder of Tyre Nichols, classified documents found in Mike Pence's home, the United States sending tanks to Ukraine, Secretary of State Michael Watson announces his reelection bid for Secretary of State, my weekly weather report, and my exclusive interview with WLBT Meteorologist Branden Walker. Without further ado, let's begin. The nominations for the 95th Annual Academy Awards were announced on Tuesday. 10 films were nominated for Best Picture, including All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. For Best Director, the nominees are Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinberg for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Todd Field for Tar, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, Ruben Östlund for The Triangle of Sadness, and Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. The nominees for Best Actor in a Leading Role are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. The nominees for Best Actress in a Leading Role are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for When Two Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. The nominees for Best Actor in a Supporting Role are Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyler Henry for Causeway, Jude Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ke-Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. For Best Actress in a Supporting Role, the nominees are Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chau for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, and both Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. For Best Original Screenplay, the nominees are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. For Best Adapted Screenplay, the nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. For the full list of nominations, you can visit the Academy website and social media pages. The Oscars will premiere March 12th on ABC, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. On Saturday, January 21st, 11 were killed and 9 were injured in a mass shooting at Monterey Park in California. The shooting took place at Star Ballroom Dance Studio hours after an all-day Lunar New Year celebration. The suspect, 72-year-old Hugh Con Tran, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound during a standoff with police the next day. Days later, 2 other mass shootings occurred in Oakland and Half Moon Bay, California. Five officers, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith, all African American, were fired from the Memphis Police Department before being arrested for the murder of Tyre Nichols. The arrest took place on Thursday after footage showed Nichols was beaten by the officers on January 7th. Nichols died on January 10th. The body cam footage was released on Friday, sparking nationwide protest. More classified documents were found in the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence on Tuesday. A small number of documents were found by Pence and a counsel searching the home out of abundance of caution, following documents found at President Joe Biden's home the week before. On Wednesday, President Biden announced that the United States would be sending 31 M1 Abrams tanks to aid Ukraine in its war against Russia.
Secretary Austin has recommended this step because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory.
Secretary of State Michael Watson announced his reelection bid for Secretary of State on Wednesday. Watson is the last incumbent Mississippi state official to announce reelection. This comes after reports that Watson was considering a challenge to Governor Tate Reeves in the Republican primary for governor. The deadline for qualifying in the November statewide elections is February 1st. This week, there will be rain chances Sunday through Friday, ranging from 20% to 100%. Temperatures will be as low as 38 on Thursday to being as high as 64 on Sunday. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about your motivations and, your education, your overall journey that led you to working here at WLBT?
Yeah, certainly. Ernie, to kind of, in a grand scheme of things, kind of boil it down, was the big thing for me is when I was about 7 or 8. If we want to go kind of, way back to when it kind of started for me, that's when I kind of developed a passion for weather. And a lot of folks, their passions really kind of started after the movie Twister. Mine kind of was there. I remember seeing the movie Twister, and it kind of grew on me over time. And then it started to develop a little bit more into a passion of wanting to storm chase and to be out there in the elements, rather that's, chasing after rainstorms or thunderstorms and different things like that. And so when I got to high school, still kind of had that passion and desire on heart, and the Lord honestly kind of kept it in front of me. Continued to keep that passion there for me, and I continued to kind of run after it. I wanted to go to MSU first, honestly, after I graduated from Pearl High School in 2013, but that wasn't the case. I ended up going to William Carey University, and even at Carey, I still followed the passion. Like if I was storm chasing, if I was sending out weather alerts, it was still a desire that I was like, okay, I can get this, I can make this happen. And I had my first internship my senior year at Carey at WDAM under my former chief meteorologist, Nick Lilia. He was the chief at the time when I was interning there at WDAM, and taught me a lot that I didn't know, got me in front of a green screen. I'm comfortable in front of the green screen, and that continued the passion, honestly. And so fast forward about a year and a half after graduating from Carey, I started my master's in meteorology at Mississippi State Online. I didn't have a job yet doing weather. Kind of a few bumps in the road came. I was not necessarily working in, but I was working somewhere. And eventually a weather forecasting journalist job opened up at WDAM. So that got my foot in the door. I was reporting 3 days a week, and I was also doing weather forecasting on the weekend. So I was able to do the 10 p.m. Newscast doing weather. And so that kind of developed and grew in 2019 going into 2020. And then one more year at WDAM, and then push come to shove, the Lord opened the door at WLBT, and here we are. And so currently right now, I'm not getting a master's degree. I ended up just putting the master's on the back burner, and because of just how hard it was at the time, how much it was. A master's is way more expensive than just a bachelor's degree. And when I was talking to my advisors, they were like, how about you just get a third bachelor's degree? And I said, sure, why not? Because I already have an undergrad at Carey. Most of my prereqs would go to my bachelor's degree, which did. And so I'm almost done with a third bachelor's degree at Mississippi State, and currently weather forecaster meteorologist at WLBT. And so, yeah, that's kind of the motivation. The biggest motivation I could say would be the Lord for sure, just kind of keeping it there in front of me, but also just a passion. I tell people a lot of times, if whatever you're passionate about, if you can continue to chase that, that'll open up more opportunities than anything, honestly, and that's been kind of the thing for me. That's opened up all the opportunities that I've had today, but also the Lord providing them as well.
Can you describe what the day in the life of Branden Walker looks like? Give us a little bit about your typical schedule, how things go as a meteorologist.
Yeah, so a good day would be just say, for instance, you could take this morning, because I was doing the midday shift for the longest. So some people would see me during the 12:30, and then of course we have a break between that schedule, and then the 4:30, 5:30 newscast. And so now kind of a little bit of a shift. Patrick, he's off this week, but we'll take this week, for instance, because we kind of, if he's off, I'm doing the AM, or we split the AM shift a lot of times. And so just a typical day like we take today, for instance, the first newscast starts at 4:30. And so we're usually there at 3 a.m. So 3 a.m. to try to get everything done for the 4:30 a.m., which is the 4:30 to 5 is WLBT, and then the 5 to 6 is an hour WLBT, and then the 6 to 7 is WLBT. And then, of course, many folks probably have seen our Fox shows, which is the 7 to 8, and then the 8 to 9 a.m. And then we're done after that, of course, until the 11 a.m., which is a lot of folks like watching the 11 a.m. because it's just a fun show to just be able to be a part of. But usually during that time, before we even get in, we're trying to go ahead and get a forecast together, because it's pretty quick. Once you come in, all the shows hitting back to back to back. But during those times where we have breaks, we're still looking at the forecast. We're still, plotting, the forecast numbers as far as the highs and the lows, and trying to get an idea of what we're going to be seeing during the weekend, if we're getting closer to it, or just during the week altogether. If there's going to be storms, or if there's going to be rain, or are we going to get plenty of sunshine? And so that's kind of behind the scenes look of what's kind of happening as a meteorologist. It's never really a dull moment unless there's no weather going on. But most of the times here in Mississippi, we got some pretty crazy weather going on.
Can you tell us a little bit about what were the most memorable weather stories you've covered in your career so far?
Man, that's a good one. I definitely have just two right off the top of my head. One of the main ones would be the Easter tornado in 2020 that came through Jones County, and particularly where I was, it was right outside of Soso, Mississippi. This was a very that whole week where we had it on Easter, I look and I think on that still to this day a whole lot, because of how crazy and impactful everything happened. We had COVID that was going on during that time. And I remember, we were all hands on deck, and like we kind of knew that this was going to be a severe outbreak a couple of days ahead before it happened. And so when it all went down and things started to deteriorate really quickly with the system, and tornadoes were happening in Columbia, Mississippi, and that just kind of Marion County continued to lead into sister counties and ended up going into Jones County, Soso area. And then of course we all know where it went and continued to track after that. Just going into that area, the line of storms where the tornadoes had tracked through, and seeing a lot of the damage. I still have not seen damage like that. I've seen tornado paths that had, EF1s, EF2s, a little bit of damage here and there. But the raw strength of you could see for as far as you could see, and you could see tree tops, like somebody took a saw and just completely hammered them down in half. just that in general, just that whole season of going through that. I interviewed a family during that time. I wish I would have put this video in. It was one of the biggest stories I'd ever did at WDAM. But I interviewed a couple of families that were impacted by that that storm that came through so. And this one of the guys, his mom had actually died in a tornado that came through, and it was just so heartfelt and so telling how he was actually, him and his sister were at school at UA trying to shelter because of course they knew the system was coming through. And this is during the day going into the evening when they started to move through. And literally he had got a call from, I think, a relative on their land that they lived on out there, and they said, we can't find your mom. This is after the tornadoes have already went through. And he, of course, just like human instinct, jumped in his truck, drove all the way out there. He said, man, I remember doing an interview with him. He said, man, I don't remember a whole lot driving on the way. I know I was doing 100 on the interstate to get to where I needed to get to try to get home. He said once he got into Jones County, was closing in on like that so area. It was just like a war zone. He said he couldn't. There were so many trees, there were so many cars, there was so much stuff that had been tossed and turned. And I'll never forget it. He just pulled over and he just started running to where he could try to get to his mom. And he had finally got there, which took forever, which was probably like a 30-minute. He was just straight up, he was just running. And when he got there, their house was in a lake on their property, and he just was flipping tree and trying to flip house to be able to find his mom, and ended up finding his mom. But unfortunately, she had passed away from the damages of the tornado that came through. And so that was definitely one of the most just impactful to be able to talk to this family. So many families that were impacted, but so many people that had passed away too. That was probably, one of the biggest, but I mean, this guy's like our age, he's still in college, and just after he found his mom, he just went to start helping other people. He's like, there's nothing I could do. She already passed away. And I'm just thinking, like, my mom passed away. Like, I'm not going to be pick it up and just keep going, but to see his heart and desire just to, she's gone, I've got to continue to help other people. Very, very, just such a strong story. I have to actually share that one, which I'll tag you on that one when I find it.
That's all we have for this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all on Sunday.